So we're going to upgrade our HS3 with these parts. So we got the camera, we got a filament sensor, we got a new angled filament entry port, and we have a new compute board. You're going to need these tools, mostly just small Allen keys, 13 and a 12, and some flush cutters. And this is the hardware that you're going to need to install these parts with. So first things first, we're going to take off all the panels. I'm going to grab my 2.5. And I'm going to start taking off all the panels. I'm going to take it off and kind of set it to the side for now. When you're taking off the back panel, you're going to want to take off the antenna as well. It kind of just unthreads from there. Okay, that's the last one. Now we're just actually going to go to the back panel here. And we're going to remove this cable track cover, just the cover, and just the cover of this cable track. And the easiest way to do it is you kind of just push down on it, and it will unlatch from most of them. All right, we're going to install the camera next, and it replaces this part here, this back hinge for the lid. So we're going to have to remove this part. And to do that, you're going to need a 13 to take this guy off, and a 12 millimeter to hold the nut on the inside. Kind of pull it out. I'm gonna grab my 3 millimeter. You gotta be a little bit careful when you're doing this. Only one gas shock may not be able to support the lid. Okay, I'm gonna take that out. I'm gonna close the lid for safety, and I'm gonna transfer this gas shock onto this mount. We're supplying new hardware for this, and a little Loctite packet as well, so I'm just going to not reuse this hardware. And I'm going to reinstall it into this guy here. There's a little hex printed part there. You can kind of get it started in there. You can get this one pretty tight. There we go. I'm going to grab my Loctite here. I'm going to grab the M4x18s. I'm going to put a little dollop on each one. Okay, little mounts here. Okay, and now we should reinstall the camera here. Put that guy down there. Line up the hardware. And I'm gonna screw them down. Definitely helps to have a ball end Allen key for this. It's a bit of an awkward angle. And we're going to reinsert the nut for the support, the gas shock here. Okay, nice and tight. I'm going to route the wires for this guy. We feed them down through the top plate, same place we have the motor wires. There's a little zip tie point on the actual mount. I'm going to loop a cable tie through just to hold those cables in place. And I'm just going to feed them down through the top plate here. I usually do the USB first because it's a bit bigger. Might have to shuffle the wires underneath the top plate a bit. There we go. I'm going to put one zip tie around the cables here. I'm going to route the wires through the back panel here and through there. Again, do the USB first, it's a bit bigger. Okay. I'm going to feed the USB all the way along. I'm going to feed it through this guy. It's a bit longer than it needs to be, so we're just going to loop in the slack here a bit. And it will plug in there. Now this one goes onto the main board, but we're going to have to move this fan out of the way. So I'm going to get a 3 millimeter Allen key. And what I normally do is I actually only undo 3 of the bolts here. And then I kind of just like whoop, out of the way. And then this one, on some of your machines, you'll have these little jumpers, 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to move this second one to the middle position. Okay, I'm going to put it in the second position. I'm going to plug this one into there. Okay, I'm going to feed it up through there. Any excess you can put in the cable track. I'm going to put a zip tie there as well, just to keep it from hitting the fan. I'm going to put a zip tie through here. My flush cutters to trim off the excess. Here's the filament tower and the new filament entry port. So we're going to do the filament tower first. So we're going to take off the old one with my 3mm Allen key. What you want to do is you want to depress the pneumatic fitting and pull out the PTFE. And we're going to take the filament tower out, the top of the filament tower here. Okay, I'm going to put the new one in that position. Okay, nice and tight. And I'm going to remove the entry port now. So there's one screw on the top here, and there's going to be a mirror one at the bottom there. And we're going to undo those two. This is definitely when the ball end comes in handy. These ones are a little awkward to get to. Almost there. There we go. I'm just going to take it out with the PTFE tube. Okay, and we're going to insert the new one with some new hardware. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on these guys. And I'm just going to install the filament entry port. I'm using a conveniently short Allen key for this, because if it's too long, it'll interfere with this fan over here. So I'm just going to tighten those guys up. Again, ball end Allen key helps a lot in this case. Gonna get the bottom one in here, hard to see, but getting it. Okay, and before you get tight, you want to measure about 15mm between the top surface of this guy and the bottom of this plate.
Stop. Future Riley here. The part we ship takes care of the 15mm space for you. There's no need to go find a ruler. Back to the video.
Feed it down into the entry port. Go down into it and kind of bend and push it up into the filament sensor. Cool. Last thing for the filament sensor is we're going to install the electronic cable here for it. I'm going to feed this one down and through here. Pull a bit of the slack and just rest it there while I plug in the inside. It's got an indexing feature, so you can only plug it in one way. The way you can tell the difference here between a new Manta versus an old Manta is, first of all, the size of the chip on it. The new one has a much larger chip, and it will say V2.0. If yours does not say V2.0 and it seemingly has a smaller chip, you'll want to plug into this one. If you have a larger one, it will be plugged into this one. If you have a newer board, which will be hidden behind your CAN bus connector to the print head. So there's a 3-pin kind of right here. The other end of the wire here, and I'm going to feed it down through one of the cable track openings here, down to this plug way down here. Plug it in there, and I'm going to grab a zip tie and fasten that. Okay, so now that we got everything plugged in, we're just going to put the fan back here. These ones don't have to be too tight, because if you do too tight, you'll squish the fan. Cool, last thing we're going to do is install the compute module. Replace this board with a new board. I'm gonna grab it here, take it out of the box. It's gonna be nice and green. I'm gonna set it up to the side for now while we take the other one off. And we're gonna need a 2mm Allen key for this. So first things first is you're gonna wanna unplug the antenna. It's quite fragile, so be careful. A little awkward to do it too. You're not gonna be able to see it very well. So, got the antenna out of the way, and now I'm gonna unscrew the 4 little screws holding that board on. And I'm going to remove the SD card that is plugged into the back. There's a little pull tab here. I'm gonna hold that and kind of just push up to remove the SD card. And now we're gonna try and pull this board off of the lower PCB. And the best way to do it is kind of wiggle it back and forth a little bit and pry, and there it goes. And we're gonna replace that one with the new one. The antenna is in a slightly different position, but make sure your antenna is facing, the port for the antenna is in the upwards position. These are very small and fragile connectors, high density connectors. So what you wanna do is you wanna just kinda put it in place and make sure it doesn't wiggle around before you push hard on the 2 sides where the connectors are. And you should hear a click. If you don't hear a click, you probably haven't gone far enough. I'm gonna push the 4 corners in, and I'm gonna reseat the screws in there. We're gonna replug the antenna in here. There we go. You can push right on the connector. At this point, we just need to zip tie a couple more things, and then we can button up the electronics panel here. On the USB cable here, just so the camera doesn't come unplugged by accident. That nice and flush. I'm gonna put the covers back on. Okay, at this point we got everything physically installed. We're just gonna put the side panels back on and install the new antenna. If your antenna looks like this, definitely reinstall it. And if your antenna looks like this, take it home and install the new one. I like to rest this one on the base plate and slip it over top of the antenna port. And now that we've got the new filament entry port, you might have to like slip it in kind of up at an angle over top of the port. So we're shipping a new antenna. Looks like this. If your antenna looks like this, definitely do not use it. If your antenna looks like this, keep it and use it somewhere else, but install the new one. And with that, we got everything installed. So we removed the old compute board with its antenna and SD card. We removed the mount for where the camera goes now. We removed the old filament entry port and removed where the filament switch goes now. So we'll have documentations with more pictures and words on how to do this process on our website. There's a link below. If you need additional help, Alex and I can jump on a call with you. We'll sort this thing out. We'll sort out the problems and bugs, walk you through it. So with that, thank you very much. Stay tuned for future updates.